So let's talk pre-ordering versus hunting. This is the dichotomy that most collectors face whenever they want to purchase a particular toy from a particular line and all that. Whether a particular collectible is difficult to obtain or easy to obtain, collectors are sometimes torn whether to pre-order it or just hunt for it in the wild. So let's start with definitions. What is pre-ordering? Pre-ordering is you signify to a particular store, a particular vendor. There are individuals who buy products from distributors and they sell them online through their own shop, online stores, or through Facebook or through Instagram or whatever social platform or means or online means that they have. So they collect orders. Stores may do so, like online stores or brick and mortar stores can collect pre-orders. And the collector will signify, yes, once it is available, please get me one or get me two or several. I want to buy this item, and here is the down payment, or here is an advance on the payment, or here is a reservation fee, something like that. But pre-ordering essentially is buying in advance even before the product is available. Hunting is when the product is available. Once it's already on shelf, it's easy enough to determine if you know the shelf dates, or if you see people posting on Facebook, it's already available. Then you go out to different stores, not necessarily any specific store, but any store you prefer. You go out and you hunt for a particular toy, hoping that it's on the shelf when you get there. So essentially, it's buying in advance or buying on the day it's out. Looking for it. Okay, so let's start with pre-ordering. What are the pros for pre-ordering? If you pre-order, it is safe, secure, and guaranteed most of the time. I mean, you ensure that you will get one. If your pre-order is recognized by the store, it guarantees you have that slot or slots. You're gonna get your figure when it's available and when it's ready to ship. It's easy. Just go to your favorite store, online store, or brick and mortar, and say, I want to order that. I want to order the one that's coming in 3 months time from now. Get me that, put me in a slot, write my name down, and it's fine. Easy. All right? And it's sort of this thing that you forget about. I mean, you don't have to worry if you're going to get that toy or you're going to run out and all that most of the time. Because out here in Asia, there are some inconsistencies with pre-ordering, which I'll discuss later on. Okay, so what are the cons for pre-ordering? Number one cons, I believe, are delays and cancellations. That has happened several times here in Manila, in Asia in particular. For instance, the Soul of Chogokin Voltes 5 40th anniversary. That figure, that particular set, has been very notorious. It was pre-ordering for about $200, $250. Now it's selling at about $400, $500. A lot of those who pre-ordered it got canceled because of the shortage. The demand was too high. Bandai didn't realize that they had a shortage, and a lot of pre-orders were canceled. Also, most pre-orders, because of shipping in your area, logistics issues, there are delays, and this is a reality. It can be a little bit stressful because you don't know whether your item is going to be shipped or not, especially if the store doesn't give updates. All right, another cons that I can think of is not all stores will have your item, particularly store exclusives, convention exclusives. It's very difficult to pre-order those, especially if they're exclusives, especially if the store or the retailer wants you to physically buy it in their store, or you have to go to the convention to get it. And, if you want to get it at the price you want, it's very difficult. You can pre-order it through secondary sellers, but the price may not suit your budget. So limited in a way, pre-ordering can limit your choices in that way. Most items can be pre-ordered, but I reckon not everything can be pre-ordered. All right, the third con I can think of is people who hunt will normally get it ahead of you, of your pre-order, because pre-orders, you get queued up for shipping, and it depends on the particular store how efficient their logistics is when it's shipping. And most of the time, brick and mortar stores will have them on shelves the time that most online stores will ship them. So there will be instances that your buddies go to a particular store and hunt, and then they'll have it and they'll post it online or on social media. And I can't imagine any collector who is not on social media. I mean, there probably still are action figure collectible collectors. They're going to be online to be aware of what's going on in the market, and they're going to see posts. They're going to see posts of people finding them in stores, and they're going to follow up their pre-orders, and the stores will always tell them it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, and that sort of puts makes it a bit a source of envy, I think, for a lot of collectors, that seeing fellow collectors who have not pre-ordered the item already have the item, and yet they're still stuck at home waiting for it. So, I mean, it sucks. You just have to tell yourself you're going to get it, but you can't help but feel a little bit jealous for those who already have it. Okay, let's go to hunting, toy hunting. Now, this is something I'm guilty of enjoying. Ever since I started toy collecting again back in 2007. I've been toy collecting since the 80s, stopped in the 90s, because you went to college, you realize there's more to things than toys and comic books, such as dating. Okay, and you got married, and then once you get married, you try to settle down, then you sort of think you need a hobby, and then you get back into toy collecting. I got married in 2007, and that's when I jump started my toy collecting. Toy hunting is essentially why people do it. I think the biggest pros that I can think of is the thrill of the hunt, the feeling, that emotion of a thrill when you're hunting. I think it's human nature to feel a bit of a rush when you're looking for something, because you can imagine how it's going to feel when you find it. So that thrill is sort of intoxicating, and you kind of want to keep doing it, especially if your success rate is very high, particularly in hunting in your area. Also, part of the thrill of the hunt is that I think people are generally competitive in nature. Sure, you can always say, I don't really care if my friend gets it first, or I don't really care if a buddy across town gets it first before me. I know, I have my pre-order, whatever. Sure, it's easy to psych yourself out and say that, it's nothing. I don't really care if he has it. But again, you're on social media, and people are posting these things, that they're finding it here on this particular Target, particular store. This hobby shop has it. So you always get fired up and thinking that maybe I can get it also, or maybe I can beat my other buddy getting it, so I can, brag about it. It's sort of that competitive nature that we have. Okay, another pros I can think of is there is this sense of accomplishment. Like I said, a high, like a lot of serotonin and dopamine pumping through your brain once you find it on the shelf. Now, a lot of my buddies have experienced this. My buddy Christian, he's the guy who reminded me that it is still so awesome to find like an Optimus Prime on the shelf. An Optimus Prime you've been looking for, and you see it on the shelf. It's such a great feeling. It feels like the toy gods or fate has made you the luckiest person on earth to be able to find that toy on that shelf on your hunt, and it gives you that sense of a high and particular sense of achievement that you feel you're the greatest toy hunter in the world. Well, I know I'm the greatest toy hunter in the world, and I'm sure everybody thinks that they're the greatest toy hunter in the world. And these moments when you actually find one after a couple of stores, 3 stores, 5 stores, 10 stores, then you find it, that sigh of relief knowing that you still got it, that you can find any toy you want, that sense, I in particular, myself, I'm guilty of that. It gives me such a tremendous high that I am such a great bounty hunter or a bound toy hunter. Another pros I can think of is there's this childhood feeling you get. This is apart from that high, that dopamine, serotonin high that you get when you find one. It's this childhood feeling that you get, like you're transported back in time when you were a kid, when you find a toy on the shelf, and with eyes wide you see it, and that simple feeling of joy you get when you visit a toy store, you buy a toy, and you bring it home. I think everybody still has that. I think most of the toy collectors I know has never gotten rid of that feeling, and I think that's what keeps us going and to buy stores, to go into stores and hunt for things, because people will always say, "Why don't you just pre-order it and save yourself the trouble?" And a lot of people can't explain it, but they love going into a toy store and seeing toys and picking out one and taking it home. That childhood nostalgic feeling, I think, is a different kind of high when you're hunting. So in a sense, toy hunting kind of brings that out. Okay. And lastly, I think I've already mentioned this. It's bragging rights. It's always, a lot of collectors are not going to admit this, but every time you go to a store and you unexpectedly find a toy that's supposed to be released in a couple of days or in the following week, and you find it already on the shelf, you want to take a picture of it, you want to post it online, and you want to tell all your friends who've pre-ordered it, hey, I already got mine, where's yours? I don't mean to say it's a good thing or it's a bad thing, but you have to admit, you always want to one up your fellow collector. You get that attention that people are saying, where did you get that? How do you have it? How do you have it now? Well, I'm kind of guilty of that in some ways because for a time, the Philippines or Manila would always get a lot of toys in advance. And then Hasbro Asia, which is based in Hong Kong and Singapore, had already set the rules about 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. All Hasbro offices in Asia have to adhere to the street date. And, for a while, we couldn't get toys ahead and we'd get it with the rest of the world. But there are still moments where we would get it like a week or two ahead of the rest of the world. And it goes back to the same idea that you want to have something that your fellow collectors don't have yet. Sure, everybody's going to get it sooner or later, but that sense of accomplishment that you got it first, I don't know, for some collectors, that's still a thing, and it gives them a high, and it gives them some form of bragging rights to say that, oh, okay, I already got it. Sure, you can always say, yeah, who cares? I'm going to get it the next week. I'm going to get it a month from now. I don't really care. But still, you can't help but feel just a little bit jealous of the guy getting it ahead of you. Okay? So, what are the cons for toy hunting? Obviously, the con I can think of is very stressful due to the limited stocks allocated per store. And I thought it was just in the Philippines, but when I went to the US a couple years ago, I went around and there were no stocks at all. I was very appreciative of the kind of toy stores we have here in Manila that's always fully stocked of toys. And I go into the US, you go to a Walmart, Targets, some Walmarts would have it, the other Walmarts won't have anything. Some would have one, two pieces, the other would have a boatload of toys. It really depends on distribution and allocation per store. And that can be very stressful if you're on a budget on gas, on parking money, on food allowance and whatever. If you're trying to budget, because you don't want to spend too much gas looking for a toy. So if you go through several stores and you don't find anything, that can be a source of stress. That's happened to me several times when I was just starting out toy hunting back in 2007 to 2010. It took me a while to figure out logistics of how the local distributor, sent out toys. This was before hobby shops like Our Toys and Hobby Corner were, even before they came about here in Manila, we were left to hunt at Toys R Us, Toy Kingdoms, and we would not know when toys would come up. And it can be very stressful because you'd go every day checking it and you see nothing. There was a time that I blocked off one particular Sunday or one particular Saturday, and today is hunt day. I'm going to go through 10, 15, 18 different stores. I'm not going to stop until I find what I'm looking for. And I did that, and most of the time I get what I want. Sometimes I get it in the first store, sometimes I get it on the 18th store. But there are times you go through 18, 20 stores and you find nothing. And it can be very depressing and it can be disheartening and it makes you feel like you want to quit toy collecting at all. I know. It's kind of crazy, but I'm sure some of the collectors can relate to that. Also, there is that kind of depression and envy. It's kind of stressful if you see other people getting it, going through different stores. I mean, these are not the collectors that pre-order. These are the collectors that go out to the stores and they find these things, and you think, why can't I get it? So it can be a source of envy. Also, it can be very expensive. That's a very, very obvious cons for toy hunting. It's so expensive to pay for so much gas, train money or bus money, bus fare, or you go through 18 stores, and you can imagine just how much parking fees, or here in Manila, they charge parking for everything, and the petrol or the gas you're going to consume, and you got to eat. You spend so much just on the hunt alone. It sucks if you can't find anything. So that's one. And lastly, I think there's a lot of politics involved, particularly in Philippine stores. and I'm not talking about, like, if you're right wing or left wing politics. I'm talking about that there are ways that collectors can get items from a particular store, and they can crowd out the other collectors. Like, if you know the store manager, if you know the merchandiser assigned for that particular store, if the guy who works at a particular Target, Toys R Us, or Toy Kingdom store is your buddy, you can always ask him to reserve an item for you. And I know that's not allowed, but it does happen in the Philippines. Or you can ask him to ring you or to phone you or to give you a text message, give you a heads up once a particular item that you're looking for is available at a particular store. You see a lot of collectors, they always find their stuff every time they go to a toy store. And you see a lot of collectors who never find anything. And it's a sad reality, but there is this inequality in toy hunting. And, I'm not saying that I use a lot of influence. I try to do that. It's just that sometimes, you go to a store one too many times, and then the store clerks or the managers, they become your friends. And once they know you're a regular, they have to keep their quotas, they have to make the sale. And so sometimes they just go and become proactive. They get, "Sir, can I get your number? And do you think, hey, you can leave your number? And then once it's in, or once we have something new, we're going to give you a heads up. We're going to text you." So it's not something deliberate for a lot of collectors, but it does happen because of the nature of selling here, at least in Manila. They got to go for the quotas. So any chance they can get a sale, they go to the ones that are surely going to buy something. So if you're a regular, you've been there for the last 3, 5 years, they're going to contact you first, as opposed to contacting somebody who's just come there for the first time and left their number. So it's kind of a little bit of this politics. Oh, and also, there are some people who go directly to the distributor and they get it through the warehouse and then they sell it, which I think is unfair. Because if you want to sell your own stuff, I think you should go through the proper channels. Like, you go to a hobby shop, or you go to an importer, an actual importer that's allowed to distribute to sellers, online sellers. Because I think the local distributor here is only allowed to distribute to legitimate stores, online and brick and mortar. So if you don't have a brick and mortar store, the major or official distributor for products, Hasbro products like this one, I know they're not allowed to sell to you. But some people still get away with it, and they can still get it. So again, there's a lot of politics involved, and especially in Asian countries. And it's a reality. And sometimes, it's all, you have to think it's just all part of the game, and you got to play your part. I don't mean that you got to go do and play the politics game. It's just that it wouldn't hurt to be nice to store clerks, store managers, store supervisors. Even though sometimes you come to a store and you ask about an item and they're like so clueless about it, and you think, man, you've been working here for 8 years and 10 years and you still have no idea what toys you're selling. I mean, it can be frustrating, but sometimes a little bit of kindness can go a long way, because sometimes you don't really know what's going on in a person's head. Like, this guy, like, toys are toys, or the specific character and Marvel Legends character is probably the last thing on his mind if he's dealing with stuff at home, if he's trying, if he's worried about keeping his job, if trying to feed his family and all that. You just have to be more sympathetic. And we're all human. Not all of us are into toys. Not all of us are worried about whether we're going to get the next Black Widow or Boba Fett or next Optimus Prime. So a little kindness can go a long way. So let's wrap this up. It's getting too long. If you ask me, what do I do? Do I pre-order? Do I toy hunt? Yes, I pre-order. Yes, I toy hunt. Most of the time, I hunt. I love it. I love hunting. I'm a little biased on toy hunting. For old stuff, like stuff that I've reviewed and I sold off and I realized, oh man, I gotta get it back. Like Studio Series Grimlock, Studio Series Blackout, or some of the other Marvel figures that I reviewed, and I immediately sell them off because I think their value is gonna go down. So I sell them off. Or I didn't really like it. Then I realize months along the way, a year after, man, I gotta get that Marvel Legends figure. So there are stores that are still offering clearance pre-ordering. I don't know how it happens, but I know in the US or in Canada or in Europe, if it's clearance, you just put it on the shelf. But here in Manila, some hobby shops are getting pre-orders for items that have already gone on clearance in other countries, and they'll import it and then they'll get pre-orders. So I pre-order that stuff. The other thing I pre-order are toys that I feel are going to be difficult to hunt for. And it's sort of for me like an insurance policy that I have, like Black Series 6-inch retro carded Bespin Luke Skywalker. Out of the entire first wave, that one is going to be the most difficult to find because everyone's going to be after that. So I pre-order it. I pre-ordered it to my buddy Ryan. He runs a Facebook shop, and I pre-ordered it. Okay, but Hobby Corner, I checked their website and I checked their Facebook page. On that particular day, I'm on my way to Hobby Corner. Stuff gets delivered, so I purchase it. But I still have to purchase my pre-ordered stuff from my buddy Ryan. So I'll get two of them. It kind of doesn't make sense because you're going to spend twice, but it sort of gives you that sense of security that you've got an insurance policy. And I can always get rid of one if I don't feel like I need to keep two. So as an insurance policy, yes, pre-ordering is definitely the way to go. But for new stuff, most of the new stuff, I kind of still feel like I want to hunt for it. I want to get it as long as it's there, as I know it's going to be available. I want to hunt for it because all the reasons I mentioned in the beginning, that's what I want to do. If you're on a budget and you pre-order one too many things, and then all of them just come about and get delivered at the same time, especially in times like these when there's a quarantine. Once the quarantine is over, let's say a month from now, 2 months, 3 months, all that backed up, backlog, delayed shipment, they're all going to come at the same time. And if you're not as financially liquid as some collectors, it's going to be a pain. It's going to be very stressful to find the cash or the credit to just get all these stuff once they all come. So I kind of want to spend only when it's there and I got the budget for it. That way it's a little less stressful trying to figure out where you're going to get the money once all your pre-orders come in. Okay, as a final note, I'd like to say it's really up to you. Again, you got to find out what makes you happy. If you get too stressed out hunting, go pre-order. If you want to hunt and pre-order at the same time, it's not a problem. You can do both. If you don't like pre-ordering, you just want to go with the flow and just buy stuff when it comes. If you don't get it, who cares, right? Then go hunting. Again, it's a matter of preference, but you have to figure out what you want in life. You gotta be aware of what makes you tick, of what gives you stress, and what gives you happiness. Because at the end of the day, all this is supposed to make you happy. It's at least some form of happiness. This is not the be-all and end-all of things. Toy collecting is not the ultimate happiness in life. There are a lot of intangible things, but one of the things that makes us happy is our childhood hobby of toy collecting. And if it stops making you happy, then there's something wrong. All right. So with that, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me in this discussion. And if you have any topic that you want me to discuss or any suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. Are you a pre-ordering collector or are you a toy hunting collector? Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my latest video reviews. If it's your first time here on my channel watching my videos, please subscribe. As always, everybody, thanks for watching.